There's a button inside almost every broker's settings page that most traders have never clicked. It says something like API access or developer tools, and most people assume it's not for them, that it's some technical thing for programmers and hedge funds. Today I'm going to show you why that assumption is wrong, what a broker API actually is, and why understanding it makes you a smarter, more informed trader, even if you never write a single line of code. Let's define API first, because the term gets thrown around constantly and rarely explained clearly. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Strip away the jargon and it means this: a set of rules that lets two different pieces of software talk to each other. That's it. It's a standardized way for one program to send a request to another program and get a response back. You already use APIs constantly without realizing it. When a weather app on your phone shows you a forecast, it's not generating that data itself. It's calling at a weather services API and displaying what comes back. When you log into a website using your Google account, that's an API call. When a flight comparison site shows you prices from a dozen airlines at once, it's pulling from each airline's API simultaneously. A broker API is the same concept applied to your brokerage account. It's the set of rules your broker publishes that allows external software, a trading bot, a portfolio tracker, a tax tool, a custom dashboard, to interact with your account programmatically without you manually clicking through the broker's own interface. So what can you actually do through a broker API? Let's make it concrete. Most broker APIs give you access to four main categories of functionality. The first is market data. You can request live prices, historical price data, order book depth, and other market information, pulling it directly into whatever tool you're building or using, rather than reading it off a chart manually. The second is account information. You can check your current balance, see your open positions, review your transaction history, and monitor your margin levels, all without logging into the broker's app. The third is order management. You can place new orders, modify existing ones, cancel pending orders, and receive confirmations, all programmatically. This is the part that makes automated trading possible. The fourth is streaming data. Many broker APIs offer a way to subscribe to a continuous live stream of price updates or account events, so your application gets notified the instant something changes, rather than having to ask repeatedly. We covered the technology behind this in Day 5. This is exactly where TCP and UDP do their jobs. Those four categories, market data, account info, order management, and streaming, are the building blocks of essentially every piece of trading automation software you've ever heard of. Now here's the part I really want you to understand, because this is where the API stops being a coder thing and becomes relevant to everyone. Most of the trading tools you might already be using are simply talking to your broker's API behind the scenes, whether you know it or not. That third-party charting platform you prefer over your broker's built-in charts? It's connected to your broker via API to pull your account data and place orders on your behalf. That portfolio tracker app that automatically updates whenever you make a trade? API. That tax software that imports your full year of transactions automatically at the end of the year? API. That trading journal tool that logs your fills in real time? API. The API is the invisible plumbing connecting all of these tools to your actual brokerage account. Understanding that it exists, and roughly how it works, demystifies an enormous amount of what's happening behind the scenes when you use any of these products, and it means that when one of these tools breaks or asks for unusual permissions, or claims to be able to do something that sounds too good to be true, you now have a framework for evaluating what's actually going on under the hood. Let's talk about the two main shapes a broker API comes in, because you'll encounter both of them and they work quite differently. The first is a request-based API. You ask, it answers, the connection closes. You send a request, give me the current price of this stock, or the server responds with the data, and that's the end of that interaction. Simple, reliable, and perfectly fine for things you only need occasionally, like checking a balance or placing a single order. This is the REST API style we're going to break down much more fully in Day 7. The second is a streaming API. Instead of you asking repeatedly, the server keeps a persistent connection open and pushes updates to you the moment they happen. You subscribe to a price feed, and every time that price changes, your application receives the update automatically without having to ask again. This is the WebSocket approach, also covered in Day 7. Most full-featured broker, APs, offer both REST for actions and occasional data requests, WebSocket streaming. For anything that needs to feel live and continuous, the choice of which to use for a given task is one of the first decisions anyone building something on a broker API has to make. Tomorrow's video is entirely dedicated to understanding that choice. Now, and this is genuinely important, API keys. When you enable API access on a broker account, the broker gives you an API key. Think of it as a spare key to your house. Anyone who has it can do whatever your account permissions allow. Place orders, pull your transaction history, check your balance. The key itself doesn't know or care whether the person using it is you. This creates real security responsibilities that a lot of people treat too casually. First, never share your API key, not in a screenshot, not in a forum post asking for help, not with a tool you don't fully trust. If someone has your key, they have access to your account up to whatever permissions that key carries. Second, use the minimum permissions you actually need. Most brokers let you specify what a given API key can do. If you're building a read-only dashboard, generate a read-only key. Don't give a portfolio tracking tool order placement permissions just because you can. Limit the blast radius if something goes wrong. Third, regenerate your keys if you ever suspect exposure. Treat it the same way you treat a lost physical key. Deactivate the old one immediately and generate a new one. Most brokers make this straightforward. Fourth, store keys securely, not in a plain text file on your desktop, not hard-coded into a script you might share. Use environment variables or a proper secrets manager if you're building anything yourself. These aren't paranoid edge cases, they're basic hygiene for something that grants programmatic access to your money. Let's recap. A broker API is a standardized set of rules that lets external software interact with your brokerage account, placing orders, pulling data, monitoring positions, without you manually clicking through the broker's own interface. It powers most of the trading tools you already use, whether you knew it or not. It comes in two main forms, request-based and streaming, and API keys are spare keys to your account that deserve to be treated with the same care as your actual login credentials. Tomorrow we go deep on the two most important API styles in trading, REST and WebSocket. What's the real difference? Why does it matter for how live prices reach your screen? And which one should you care about? Subscribe so you don't miss it.